Hello and welcome. New feature alert from QuickBooks. They're giving us the opportunity to import journal entries. So let's have an explore and see what can be done with it.
That it's real, cause I can get them out of my head.
Hello, my name's Patrick, and I'm going to look through with you a brand new feature that's been released on QuickBooks Online regarding journal import. Now, the import functionality within QuickBooks has expanded over time. This is the newest feature that they've unlocked, and it's only been unlocked for the past couple of days. So we're going to explore and see what it can be used for, how it's done, and generally have a look at the feature itself. So let's have a look. First of all, let's find out where we can find that import options. So in the top right hand corner, I'm going to go to the company cog. From the company cog, I'm going to go tools and import data. And when I bring up my import data option, it gives me a breakdown of all the different items that I have that I can look at to import into QuickBooks. Now, a few of these have been around for a while. So you've got your bank data, customers, suppliers, chart of accounts, and products and services. They've been there since day one, basically. But over the past couple of 6 months or so, we've got the opportunity to bring in invoices, credit notes, sales receipts and bills. And as of a few days, we now have the opportunity to look at journal entries. So let's see what we can put into journal entries. So when we click into journal entries, it's going to give us a view that hopefully you're familiar with now. This is the new import view. And from here, we have the opportunity to see what it is we can bring in. Now, one thing that QuickBooks does really well is give you some great guides into how to import. So we have here an option to look at the import guide itself. That's going to give you a nice little breakdown of how to prep your spreadsheet, how to import the journal entries in the first place, and then basically a bit of troubleshooting as well. What is always useful is to have a look at the download example file. So that's going to give you an opportunity to look at what a sample file should look like. And I would always recommend using that sample file first, because that's going to be your best way of being able to create a file to import into QuickBooks. And we've also got an opportunity to see preview what's required. What this does nicely is it shows you a typical journal entry. So this is hopefully what you can remember as a journal entry. And it's going to tell you what each of the boxes do and what you would want to include in there. Now let's go ahead and import our first journal entry. Let's have a play around with this. Notice that it has to be a CSV file and you have a maximum of 1,000 rows. Obviously, if you have more than that, then you would just put them into two separate CSV files. Now, what I'm going to use to begin with is I'm going to use that sample CSV file. Okay, so let's explore the sample file. So we've got the opportunity here. We can see we're putting some stock asset and cash on hand, 700, 700, debits and cash on hand, 100, 100. Now, it's interesting that we're getting the opportunity to post to our debtors. The only requirement there is that we have a name. And it also tells us what's our mandatory column. So we've got journal number and journal dates, and account name as our mandatory. Now, debits and credits, I assume, is going to be something that you're going to want to include, and it does give us the opportunity to location and class. Now, on this particular client, I have no locations, no classes, so what I am going to do in this instance, I'm going to delete both of them off our first import. I'm going to leave this, but what I am going to do is delete this bottom bit down here, and we're going to import this first one together and see how it goes. So all I'm doing is saving this. I'm going to bring in that stock asset, bring in that cash on hand, debtors and cash on hand there. So we should be seeing £800 leave our cash on hand, and then the two items bring in automatically. Okay, so let's bring that item in. So back into QuickBooks, I'm going to press the Browse button. From the Browse button, I'm going to jump into my Downloads, sample CSV file. From there, I'm going to press Next. It then comes up and maps everything accordingly. Now the only reason it's not got these, the only issue that it's got here is the date, so I'm going to have to explain what the format was. So from memory it was date, month, year. But because I've used a sample file, all of these ones have been coming automatically for me, so let's press next. Interesting. So we can't import some of these journal entries, fix the errors and give it another go. Line account invalid and name invalid. So what that means is at this point in time, and I'm sure this will get updated soon, but at this point in time, you have to make sure your names and your chart of account are already in QuickBooks before we can go ahead. Now, I've got two options here. I can create the account in QuickBooks, and I can do that, or I could change the CSV file. I'm going to do one of each. So the first thing is I'm going to create a cache of hand in QuickBooks itself before I complete the import. So I'm going to go to Accounting, Chart of Accounts, and from there, I'm going to create a brand new chart of account, cash on hand, and call it cash on hand. Press save. But now that account's in there. It wasn't there originally. As you can see, I had it called petty cash. Now the next thing that I'm going to look at now is I'm going to look at changing the name of it, and I'm going to look and see who I've got in my customers in this client. So here's myself, Aaron Patrick. Let's put it against me. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back to my file. I'm going to change Mark White over here because Mark White doesn't exist in this particular file that I've got. I'm going to change it to Aaron Patrick, and I'm going to press save. Now when we go to import, I'm not expecting any more errors to come through because now we should have all of those transactions in there. Okay, so let's have a go at re-importing that journal entry. Now we've made those adjustments. So I'm going to go to journal entries. I'm going to go browse. I'm going to find that file that we've updated. And remember, I've also added a brand new chart account. I'm going to press next. I'm going to choose my date format. I'm going to press next. And then everything's now good to go. So those two errors that I had have all been fixed. So I'm going to press start import. Nicely done. And you get a nice little fist pump as well. Quite like that. Press OK. And those new two journal entries have been put in there. So if I was to look at some reports to make sure of that one. In fact, let's go first of all to the transaction itself. So let's go sales, customers, and jump into myself, Aaron Patrick. Here we can see the journal entry there of £100 on the 6th of the 4th, 20. If I just look back at that file, 6th of the 4th, 20. So that's come through. And if I look at my dashboard and I look at my cash on hand, I've got my £700 there and my £100 there. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm quite impressed with that. And that's gone through. So that's a quick look at putting the information into QuickBooks. Now, let's look at some use cases for it and where you're going to be able to find yourself loads of ways in which you can save time in using this new feature. So let's have a quick look. One thing that I think this will be really useful for, so I'm back on the sample file now, but you can call this whatever you need to do, is if you had to put in, say, the wages for a director. So you're going to be putting those director salary transactions in, and let's see how quickly and easy that's going to be. So I'm going to do So my task here is I want to put in the wages journal for my director for the last, let's say, 12 months. So I want the last tax year going in there. So I'm doing month 1, 30th of the 4th, 19, and in there I'm going to make sure it goes to director's salary. I'm just going to put it round it up to date at £730 just to keep it nice and easy. And I'm going to go against wages control. Now, obviously, you could put this director's loan account as well. Now, just to make sure, remember that we had that one issue where we needed to understand that the director's salary and the wages control were already in QuickBooks. If I don't have them in QuickBooks, I'm going to have an error. So let's make sure that's there. Or what I'm feeling I've got to do on this particular client is just quickly create them. So chart of accounts, new. I'm going to do a nice new expense. I want the expense to be relating to payroll. And I'm going to call that director's salary. Save that one. I'm pretty sure I've got a wages one, but let's just make sure. Current liability, net wages. So that's something I would want to double check on. So as part of your control mechanism before posting these in, always make sure your account's there. So in this case, I'm not going to call it wages control. This client calls it net wages. Okay, so with that then, I'm going to be savvy with the way I do the rest of it, and I'm going to do, and then save a bit more time, I've got month 1, month 2, so let's just drag that down, and I want to make sure it's all the way to, what is it, 12, we want month 12, and one more, just missed out on that one. Oh, month 12's there, and then I'm just going to make sure I've got enough month 12, month 12, month 12, so they're all there, and I just need to worry about my dates now. So it's May, and that's June, and what I would probably do for my clients is I'd probably set this up as a default anyway, and as I drag them down, they're all there. So now I've got all the month ends in, and my dates are happily in there. I've got my account, I've got my amount. Again, you know, I've only rounded this up. You may have a particular amount that you pay your director. Month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, month 12. So now let's do this as a test together. So just go into that company cog one more time, importing data, using that new journal entry, pressing browse, finding that, I called it sample. Probably, if I was doing this properly, I would probably call that something different at this point. I'm going to do day, month, and year. Everything, look, there's 12 there. That's a good sign that that's going to come through. One thing that you don't get on this one is you don't get to preview what's going to be imported, but that's not the end of the world. We know what the information is going to be. So let's press Start Import. It's going through. Yeah, nice and quick that. Nicely done. All 12 entries have been added. Now, if I do my search bar here, I've got 12 new entries there. One thing I might want to do is go into each one and probably put an attachment against that wages summary as well. But what I will do is I'll just run a report quickly. Let's do profit and loss by month. Let's do last year to date, or in fact, let's just do last 365 days. That pretty much cover it. And that's perfect, isn't it? So now director's salary has been posted against each individual month for me. So there you have it, really quick and easy. As you can see, it takes no time at all to set your little journal entries up that way. You can just quickly put a CSV file together, quickly put an Excel, use it as an Excel, just in any standard Excel document, and go from there. Other use cases I can see from this, maybe fixed asset register, although personally I would use one of the brilliant apps out there like NetTracker. You could also look at using this for some more complex transactions you might be trying to do on a day but on a month by month basis. But wages is a really good one to get in there. What you could do is be a little bit more savvy with it than I was. You could take the information directly from your payroll package, and then all you need to do is do a nice little mapping Excel spreadsheet, and you can get that being created quite simply. So that's importing journal entries. It's a feature that I've been waiting for a long time, and it's now finally here, and I think there's going to be a lot of uses for it throughout going forward. So that's been me. My name is Aaron Patrick. Look at some of my other videos where I go in a lot more detail on how to deal with things in QuickBooks, and any more features that have been announced, I'm sure to have it covered as well. Stay safe, everyone. See you soon.
I say yeah. I told him I can be a fighter if you want. I'll be there to catch you if you fall. I can make it brighter when it starts. I told him I would do it all for you, and I know you do it for me too. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter. I can be a fighter if you want. I can be a fighter if you want. Oh, the way that I feel, yeah, I know that it's real, 'cause I can get him out of my head. I don't care what we do, everything's feeling new. Even if we stay in bed, my heart is saying yeah.